What's up, everybody? Kenny here, also known as Silent85. Welcome to another vlog. As of this recording, something, at the very least, crazy has happened. There was an attempt on Trump's life. I had a few things I wanted to share with y'all, and just give some opinions on what's going on. Obviously, this is, unfortunately, assassination attempts are nothing new in our country. They happen in every country throughout history. And the most recent one was back with Reagan. There was an attempt on his life. And then there was, of course, with JFK. FDR was, Teddy Roosevelt, I believe, was shot. I'm showing my ignorance here, but forgive me. Anyway, also forgive the format. Got a lot on my mind, and this has sparked a lot of speculation around the country, right? There's two things to take away from this. Number one, why would there be an attempt on a president's life, right? Political leaders, company leaders, CEOs, people that have power. They don't exactly. There are times when they don't sit well with people in a lot of ways. There comes with a certain percentage that's baseline for, you can't please everybody. You can't make everybody happy. But at the same time, there is some responsibility on that leader to proceed accordingly and with respect, and to be a decent human being, right? Well, when you're not, that percentage of people that you're going to impact in a negative way that could escalate is going to increase exponentially, especially when a nation is involved and you're pointing at other people saying this and that, they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. There was recently I think one of the writers of Project 2025 that came on and made the statement, this could be a bloodless thing as long as the Democrats allow it. It's statements like this that you don't say. It's fucked up that we have come to this point and these people are given a voice. And people follow along because the country, we've been desperate for a decent leader for a long time. And unfortunately, the people that are being looked at for this there is a chaoticism about them that brings people in, and it gives them hope, but it's a hope that enables people to say and do things, and for them to be manipulated, right? So we as a country, especially the American people, we've been going through trials and tribulations. We just want somebody to come in, step in, and do a decent job without big money getting involved, without lobbying getting involved, without ego getting involved, without tribalism getting involved. Just look out for everybody. Don't show favoritism toward one. Don't try to keep us divided. Don't do this and that. Because that fuels tribalism, which in tribalism you got teams, and then what it does do is it leads to talk of civil war. I'll touch on that in just a minute. But now the shooting of Trump was done by a 20-year-old who was a registered Republican. He had given to liberal, he had donated to liberal certain, certain liberal programs. So this kid was kind of back and forth. I mean, it's hard to really read the motivation, and that, that'll probably come out in time as of this recording. But it's hard to say, like, this 21-year-old, not even 21 yet, was he enabled? Was he led on and gaslit enough to want to do this? Was there a mental health aspect to it? It could be anything. I mean, there's obviously conspiracy theories about the Democrats did it, the Republicans set it up because they know Trump will take over the party. so on and so forth. And there's always going to be. I mean, you look at JFK, you look at the Lincoln assassination. Even to this day, those are constantly being criticized and under speculation. So there's also information that the government will withhold. I believe that. I don't think the American public ever gets the full 100% reality of what it was. Now, do I think they manufacture something? If I was to be told that and it was proven, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also don't think it's in the best interest of the American people to lie to them. Obviously, our nation has its secrets, and there is probably secrets hidden that would cause our democracy to unravel, and it's probably a good thing that we don't know, because we as a people, and it's been proven throughout history, when it comes to like dropping a big reality bomb on us, we don't tend to react when it comes to a mob mentality that kicks in and people freak the fuck out, So with that said, I mean, that's on the shooting. I'm glad Trump's okay. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm glad he's okay. I'm also not a Biden supporter. I'm an independent, left-leaning independent with that. But I'm not for either of them. But also, Trump is a human being, and I don't like to see any human being get, have their life attempted on for anything. I just don't believe it's right. So that's where I stand on that. Obviously, there was, according to Lady Silock, she's actually kind of keeping me up to date. We're kind of going back and forth on this, keeping each other up to date. A firefighter was shot trying to protect his family, but there was also another report that the guy that, or one of the people that died, was shot in the head and fell to the ground. So, either way, they were a human being. So this is obviously this event, the U.S., and I try to be an optimist on this, but when you look at the reality, when you look at the media bias, when you look at each side playing us against each other like a game of chess, which is exactly what is happening, and unfortunately, a big majority of us is falling for it. We're being gaslit. We're being told that this party's wrong, that party's right. That's a general truth throughout history. We're constantly played like chess pieces on a board. And it's up to us as individuals to research the matters, not go directly with what we're told, because that's the dangerous part here. Events like today is where more than likely is how this got enabled somehow. Because when you make remarks in public and you hold a responsibility to your base to be a decent person, to not enable violence, to not enable hatred towards others, to not enable mockery towards others, to not pull people away from other Americans, to group them up and put up a wall and say, unless you're with this, you're not American. Unless you're with us, you're not American, so on and so forth. The whole thing about being an American is that we're all Americans. We're all brothers and sisters. And here's the scary part, because there is talk of, again, civil war, right? Two things to take away from this. Number one, if you want that, you're wanting American to die. You're wanting families to be affected. You're wanting friends to be affected. Mothers, daughters, sons, uncles, fathers. These are all people. They're human beings. And lives are lost. And if we forget what happened with the last Civil War, what's the point in having an American history with hundreds of thousands of dead Americans if we don't remember it and learn from it, right? Now, again, people get inflamed. People get so driven, so bloodlust that there's been reports throughout the nation, small occurrences of if somebody badmouths Trump, they get assaulted. If they're having a certain bumper sticker, they get assaulted. There's even been some on the left, occurrences of that. I I'm a Sanders supporter. I have been for a while. He's one of the most consistent politicians throughout the years. He's not perfect, unfortunately. When it comes to campaigning, he's not the strongest player because he doesn't like to go after people personally. He's not, he doesn't like to play that game. And in the current state of politics, that doesn't really play well. But there's also other factors that caused him not to get higher than he did, so on and so forth. I won't get into that. But the reason I say that is because even on that side, in that camp, in the Sanders camp, there was a Sanders supporter that assaulted, I think it was a couple of congressmen and a senator at a baseball game or a softball game. So the point of that is that this is all around. This is all around. But when you make stump speeches, when you go to rallies and you make remarks that will enable people to cut themselves off from friends and family, Facebook is famous for doing this. They cause brothers and sisters and family to block each other because they don't agree with them politically. And we forget, even friends split up because of fucked up politics, because a person you've never met, and you probably never will, all you have from them is media bites, or YouTube videos, or posts from Twitter, social media, or biased media. You hold that to be true and as facts, but the truth is, nowadays, stuff like that needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because there's going to be conflicting facts, and especially in events like this. There was, during the assassination, right after the assassination attempt on President Lincoln, there was a general that said that you can interview every spectator, you can do everything, but no one story is ever going to be the same, down to the details. Never, it will never be the same. So it's going to take years to really look into this, look into the kid's profile, see what happened. And of course, there's always going to be speculation, especially like right now with the Secret Service. There are people saying that the Secret Service slacked on the job, they left open points, all this and that. But open rallies, the Secret Service can do everything, but you're going to have limited agents at that. And this is a huge open rally, millions of people. They're only going to have a certain scope. There was even reports of one of the attendees warning one of the local law enforcement, or at least trying to get their attention from what I've heard. But unfortunately, the law enforcement didn't catch it in time, and that's when shots were fired. Loss of human life is never good. It should never be used for a reason to vindicate, to attack, to seek retribution, because of one individual. And that works all around. But unfortunately, we as humans do have a habit of doing that. So I guess what I'm trying to say here in this long-winded vlog is be sure to consider that your actions, your thoughts, your words as a human being, even if you have a very small following on social media, even if you only have 2-3 friends on Twitter, or on Insta, or on Facebook, or on YouTube, if you're a small YouTuber, just remember that your words hold weight. Your words can either inspire people or they can gaslight people to commit atrocities. And that's part of the problem here. Because overall, for example, the MAGA community is feared. It's feared because of some bad apples that assault people. They threaten people. They have this mafioso mentality. But there's also on the right, there's people that fear the left because obviously there is a bit of a deep state, which I don't totally disagree with. There will always be higher people up, even more powerful than the president, in the background because of money, because of power, because of sometimes leverage. They've got senators in their pockets, they've got all this and that. They line the pockets. It's even currently in the Supreme Court, right? There's always corruption. But the public figureheads have to take responsibility for their words. They need to watch the rhetoric. They need to be respectful. They need to be I mean, it's sad, and you see it a lot in politics where they just go after people personally, you know, and they make it dirty. They mudslinging left and right, and but unfortunately, that's just a state of things. But when it comes to things like this, humanity needs to be remembered, especially when we speak of a civil war, which is, if you're speaking of a civil war, I'm sorry, but you're talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of lives being impacted in a purely negative or even bloody way. If you don't remember what happened between the North and the South, what happened there, the brothers and uncles and fathers, and that was lost, it's still the bloodiest war ever that we've ever had. And to even think or call for a second one is a horrible, horrible thing to do. Because what you're potentially inciting and planting ideas into people's heads with is, because we're not getting our way, because things are not going the way they should for us, we need to react and respond in a very violent way. And there are political figures that low-key are not against that. They even gaslight it. So, very long-winded vlog. Obviously, the events of the last 48 hours as of this recording have been tragic. I'm glad Trump walked away from it, because he's a father, he has kids, and he is a husband, I think, although you haven't seen Melania a whole lot. I may not agree with the man. He's still a human being. But that's it. I mean, he's a human being. You know, Biden's a human being. Even the most corrupt politicians is a human being. Even though sometimes they act less than scum. Their actions are horrible, you know. Totally counterintuitive to what you should be doing for human beings, all just to line their pockets or obtain some power or some title, you know. And don't get fooled. Any politician, any corporate leader, there's ego there. There is some ego. I don't know, people can say it to the counter all they want, but there's some ego there. You wouldn't be in the public eye unless you had a little bit of ego and you had the belief that what you were doing was right, even though it's not exactly helping the American people, depending on whatever that is. So, anyway, I wanted to make this video. I wanted to touch on it. I know it's long-winded, but look, this is serious shit, right? I've been telling my friends and family, come 2028, there's a reset. Trump can't run again. Biden's going to be too old. And I can only hope that we get a leader in that can really help heal the country, because the next 4 years, whatever happens, I don't exactly see it being easy. And I do see there, unfortunately, continuing to be unrest with whoever's elected, with whatever happens. Because we right now as a nation are just so divided because of media, because of, again, social media posts, and because we're not taking the time to recognize that there is a lot of, again, gaslighting and fear-mongering going on. We are being isolated from each other and not looking at each other as human beings. We're looking at each other as, you're voting for this person, you're a horrible person, I don't want you in my family, I don't want to be your friend, so on and so forth. And unfortunately, that throughout history, that's been our curse, because humanity has a pretty bad habit of not reviewing history and allowing it to repeat itself. And hopefully at some point, I'm all about cycles, right? In your own personal lives, statewide, nationwide, planet-wide, species-wide, we go through these cycles, and it's up to us to break them. Tupac once said, and always stuck with me, the old way wasn't working, so it's on us to do what we got to do to survive, right? You apply that to human species, apply that to the country, and that's where some people will justify a civil war. But that shouldn't happen at all, unless we're being invaded. If we're being invaded from an outside source, then yeah, we defend ourselves. You know, we But even with that, you got to remember, there's innocent bystanders, there's collateral damage, there's just all kinds of stuff. It's a bloody fucking mess. And to even think or introduce the idea of a civil war, there's no words. There's just no words. But anyway, stay safe, stay sane. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, feel free to comment down below. Keep it, give it civil. I vet comments. I started doing that a couple of years ago because of certain subjects in gaming. Even in gaming, people get really stupid and threaten violence. It's so childish, it's ridiculous. But people are people, and it's up to us to regulate ourselves and keep ourselves in check. But there's also folks that carry mental challenges that it's hard for them to adapt to that and have that control. So that's always a factor. That's always a factor. And it's those folks that tend to go to the extreme because they have delusions, or they believe they're receiving signals to do this and do that. And unfortunately, again, you get political leaders that feed into that. And we're in trouble in that case. So anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, you're awesome. Never let the world tell you otherwise. And let me just say there at the end, if you made it this far, or if you did make it this far and you unsubscribe, I get it. But the shit's important because it does affect our nation. It affects future generations. It affects me. I'm fixing to be 40. So I'm hoping I can live to see some good progress in this country away from all this bullshit at some point. Maybe ranked choice voting, which I think is a good idea. Alaska adopted it. It's done, from last I read, phenomenal. Maybe at some point we can kind of break away from the two-party system. Maybe get a third party in there, because the two-party system is completely fucking broken. It makes every campaign like a Super Bowl when it shouldn't be like that. It should be about the facts. It should be about how our country can heal, get better, increase the value of the population, increase education, help people, so on and so forth. That's what it's all about. And unfortunately, we lose sight of that because of our leaders, because they don't really lead. They just, most of the time, want to send us down a path or keep us cowed in a certain way. The extreme ones anyway, or the ones that are just full of bullshit and they're just very loud. So, and you get those every so often. There's more than a few in the Senate, more than a few in the Congress. We've had some past presidents have the same way, vice presidents, mayors, governors. Don't even get me started on Texas. But again, this is just all my opinion as an American, as a voter. And I hope that maybe some folks take away something from this. I don't know. But I've constantly done this on my channels. Maybe it'll help somebody. Anyway, going on 24 minutes. Just remember, if you're an American, if you're a member of any country, think for yourself. Take what you hear. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. There's always going to be speculation. There's always going to be details that get lost in the mix or conflict, made bigger than it actually is. A lot of convolution, and it's to react on so much little detail is not the best idea. So I'll see you next time. Peace.